Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about something that a lot of traders argues about. Whether you should go for a 1-to-1 system or a 1-to-3 system or even higher than that. So 1-to-1 R versus 1-to-3 R system. Which one is the best? Guys, choosing the right system for you is going to change everything, alright? And choosing the wrong system will make you lose years of your life and a lot of money chasing the wrong thing. Alright, so today we're gonna break it down, and at the end of this video you will be able to find the best system for you. We're gonna break each system down, talking about the advantages and the negative aspects of each one. Alright, and let me remind you of the current discount Polnox is running. So using the coupon code STRANGER you can get your account right now with a nice discount. So now let's get back to the main subject. So let's start with the 1-to-1 system. Let's talk about the advantages of it, and let's start with the win rate. Alright, a lot of people claim that in order for you to get this system working you need around 80% win rate, and that's not the case. Alright, you don't need an 80% win rate with a 1-to-1 system. If you have only 60% win rate, and that is very achievable, because you have only 1-to-1. You're not demanding a lot of price. So 60% win rate is very achievable, and 60% win rate is profitable in the long run. Alright, so imagine that you took 10 trades per week. Alright, with a 60% win rate you can easily get plus 2R, 4 losers, 6 winners. That's 2R per week. Of course it's not gonna be 2R every week, it doesn't work like that, but at the end you will have the 60% realized in your trades. Alright, if you have 50 or 100 trade, so you will be profitable at the long run. And 2R per week, that means that you can get 8R or 7R, removing also the commissions. So 8R can be 8%, it can be 4% if you're using 0.5% risk, it can be 16% if you're using 2% risk. So it is scalable and achievable, and it will make your equity really smooth, and that's what everybody wants to achieve. Another advantage for the 1-to-1 system, it has a shorter holding time. That means that you can have less exposure to news, to volatility, and most importantly to emotional swings. That means that the trade, it's not gonna have a lot of the retracements going to your TP, and then just before it hits your TP it will pull back, comes back all the way to your entry, going into drawdown, one more time expanding, and there's a good chance that you're gonna mess up the trade. You're gonna move your stop loss, your TP too soon, and that trade is now gone. Alright, you messed up with the trade and the probabilities and the win rate. Alright, you're not gonna have that with a 1-to-1 system. You will either have a TP or a stop loss. Most of the times price will not stall in your entry, and you will not do stupid mistakes during the trade. Alright, another thing is that it has a faster feedback loop. That means that you can test and refine your strategy quickly. Alright, in contrast, if you have a system with high risk to reward, you're not gonna get a lot of trades. Alright, you're waiting for the conditions to align. With a 1-to-1 you can easily get 10, 20 trades per week. Alright, depending on the time frame. That means that you have more winners and more losers to extract useful information from. Alright, so you're gonna have a faster feedback loop, and a system needs data. Alright, so you can have more data using a 1-to-1, so you will have more data with a 1-to-1 system. Another thing is that it has this factor of its being a confidence builder. That means you will have frequent wins, and it will reinforce your discipline, and it will reduce the hesitation. Alright, in contrast, a 1-to-3 or a 1-to-4 system, you will have losing streaks and you will need to accept them, and it's not going to be easy every single time. Sometimes you will have doubts. Now moving on to the negatives of a 1-to-1 system, you will have no room for error. As I said, try to achieve that 2R to plus 2R in the week. That means that one mistake or two mistakes can wipe those 2Rs, and now you're break even or even in drawdown just by doing small mistakes. There is no room for errors right here, guys. Another thing is it has a low reward ceiling. All right, you will hit growth plateau, and unless you scale, as I said, or increase the size. So you'll either need to scale the accounts, buy more accounts, or increase the size or risk. Otherwise, you will be stuck in that 5 or 6 or 7 hour per month. Another thing is that sometimes you will miss big moves. Sometimes price just keep expanding in one direction, and it's obvious that it wants to keep expanding, but since your system requires one-to-one, you will take that one-to-one and close the trade, and price just keeps expanding and expanding. So traders who has dynamic TP can really thrive in that condition. Of course, it doesn't happen every single time, but if you're trading a volatile asset like NQ or gold, it happens so often. All right, now let's talk about a 3-to-1 system, 3-to-1 or higher. So for the 3-to-1 system, and starting with the advantages, I want to start with the best one, which is one clean win can erase 3 losses or more losses. All right, that means that you can take a loss, take 2 losses, even 3 losses, and it won't affect you. All right, if you have the right mindset and the confidence in your system, because you know that one trade, one winner can erase all that. So for example, with a 1-to-1 system, you can take one trade and it's a winner, and the next trade is a loser, and that's completely normal, but that means that the profit that you made from the last trade, you lost it in the second trade. All right, and that can be sometimes annoying, and that's not the case with systems with high risk to reward. All right, another thing is that it forces you to be selective, so you can take only the A+ setups, and the system will have multiple filters to give you that. So you will be selective, and it will also block the possibility of overtrading. Another thing is that it will build your patience and conviction, so you will learn to sit through drawdown and partial retracements. They're not going to affect you when you take enough trades and spend enough time with the system. Now the negatives are there as well. You will have a low strike rate. That means that you're going to have to accept the long streaks of losses or break-even periods. It's just part of the probabilities. Again, if you have enough data, this will become easy. All right, another thing is that the edge is hard to verify. You need a larger sample size to confirm the performance. All right, 100 trades, in my opinion, is not enough. You will need more trades, maybe 300, maybe even 400 trades to confirm that your system is working. All right, because your system with a high risk reward can go through a period where we have a lot of expansions and it will work great, but that doesn't happen all the time. So what happens when we don't have a lot of expansions? Your system can easily be unprofitable and you don't even know that. All right, so you need to have maybe 3 years or 4 years of data on backtesting. Another thing is that it is mentally draining and it requires a high degree of discipline. So you're gonna watch trades retrace near the target. All right, your trade is going great, it crossed, I don't know, 80% of the way, and suddenly it starts retracing, and that is very normal and it can happen, but you're not gonna feel great when it happens. All right, that's the truth. Another thing is that it requires deep system understanding. You must know which market conditions can deliver a 3-to-1, because not every market condition will deliver that, and you're gonna get wrecked trying to trade your system in an environment that isn't suitable for it. All right, unlike 1-to-1 systems, you can trade basically any environment, and it is incompatible with impulsive personality. That is obvious. So if you have just a small leak in your discipline, you will get wrecked. All right, so for me, it is not this one is better than this. It's about your personality. So you will either need to fight yourself and force a system that isn't compatible to your personality, or you choose which one suits you better. So for impatient traders, all right, you should train under a one-to-one system first to build repetition and data. All right, you need to have that. Now for more patient and data-backed traders, 3-to-1 or more is going to be the best choice for you. But one mistake that you should avoid at all costs. Sometimes traders will chase 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 trades. They will take losses, that is expected, and what happens next is that they're going to start settling for a 1-to-1 because of fear. So imagine you took 3 trades, all losers, you're waiting for that 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 trade winner. You take 3 losses in the process, and you couldn't just keep taking losses, you need to recover. So the 4th trade, you take a trade and you settle for a 1-to-1. And while it looks good because you at least recovered a previous loss, that is a disaster in the long run. So I hope you like this video. If you have any other questions, you can leave them down in the comments or DM in my Twitter account, and I'll answer you as soon as I can. Now, happy trading and good luck.